Alright, so this is going to be Author's Fireside for January 22, 2021. And as stated before, we are going to have a special guest on here today. And she should be here any second now. She is on Instagram, and this is just probably showing up in her feed right now. She's going to come in, I'm going to invite her, I'm going to introduce her by her name, and we'll just go from there, see what happens. So let's just wait a moment till all that happens. Make sure my hair isn't too far in my eyes. Okay. Hey, how you doing? Okay. Oh, the interface is fixed now. Wasn't like this before. I can actually comment again. It's good to see. She's still not here. That's fine. Just wait a little more. I'm trying to get the best lighting angle. Oh, thank you for that, buddy. Let's see what I can do. And here she is. And let's go ahead and, yeah. View request. Go live. Hello there.
Hey,
How are you, Miss
good.
Katherine?
Catherine. Yeah,
Katherine Norland. Okay.
yeah. Does this show on my show that I'm live to on my channel?
It does. It does,
Cool.
and we're seeing a lot of people pour in.
I'm not used to doing I've done one of these before, so I don't know how this Instagram stuff works.
It's fine. I'm sort of new to it myself as well. So this is something I do every Friday, just kind of sit down here, talk about how my week's been, talk about, how it's been going. But in this instance, since we have a guest today, we're going to talk with each other, just kind of pick at each other's brains, see what we do, see what
Mm-hmm.
we're all about. And so
And
I'll start.
you're writing as well.
Yes, I am. But let's start with you, Catherine. What do you do?
Well, I am a mother of two. I am a poet, a wife, an actress. I've been in probably 200 projects. And I've written 3 books, Poetic Prescriptions for Eternal Youth in 2017, Poetic Prescriptions for Plaguing Problems in 2019, and 2020 I did a second edition of Poetic Prescriptions for Pesky Problems. So you can see I have a theme. I prescribe poetry instead of pills to help cure people's emotional and spiritual ills. So that's my thing. I'd rather see people popping poetry than popping pills to get over
Interesting.
their stuff.
That's catchy.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I tend to write quirky, motivational, faith-based poetry for with a punch for Jesus freaks, spiritual snobs, believers bustling to be better, and hypocrites hankering to be holy.
Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. So you said you were a mother of two, I believe, yes?
Yeah, I have a 13-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Aw. How's the 2-year-old?
He's a handful. Well, honestly, they are.
You cut out a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Oh yes, I said they're both a handful.
Which one's more of the handful?
Depends on the day. Yeah. Motherhood. You can't really plan your schedule. You plan, but then stuff happens and you
Yeah,
get to it.
I cannot relate at all. I am not a parent, and I am nowhere near close to being a parent. So,
So what made you want to reach out to me? Why are we here?
well, just to see what other authors and like-minded people are doing on Instagram, you know? I
Mm-hmm.
want to do this sort of thing in order to get to know my peers and my audience a little better, kind of
Yeah.
just sit down with them, meet eye to eye, talk about what we've been going through, how our weeks have been, what we're doing, what
Mm-hmm.
it's about. If we're struggling, kind of share that
Mm-hmm.
and just really have a good time. Just for half an hour every week, just sit down here and really just get to know my audience and my peers a little more.
Mm-hmm. So what is your biggest struggle when it comes with your writing?
My biggest struggle, um, that's a good question. I'd say editing because
Ah,
it's it's the part of me that doesn't want to fix anything because I think everything I write is perfect, quote unquote.
I
Even though I have to accept.
I never thought what I wrote was perfect, but I thought it was the best that I could do. Hence the second edition, because I first published this book 12 years ago. And then I grew as a writer and I grew in my spiritual journey. And I look back at that book and I was like, you know what? This isn't my best work. Cliche and redundant, and it doesn't give that punch that my newer work does. So I spent COVID 2020 rewriting all 77 poems in this book, and it just went up December 31st on Amazon because I realized I could do better. Now I know a lot of people do not go back and rewrite entire poetry books. They do it with regular books. Usually they're like, that's my art, let people see me grow. But I was like, no, I could do better. So I know in the future I'll probably just move on and do other projects. But I felt like I've grown so much in 12 years that I just wanted it. I wanted a do-over, so I took it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I myself feel that way a little bit about my first book, mainly because I published it when I was 15,
Oh,
and I
wow.
wrote I wrote most of it when I was 11, 12, and 13, and obviously
Wow.
through that time, my grammar has improved a little bit.
Yeah.
So it definitely was the book we spent editing the most. I'd say we read through it about 20 times
Yeah.
before we published it. But even still, like I look back on it, I'm like, I'm not sure what I want to do about it because a part of me likes that it's a little juvenile, how all journeys kind
Well,
of start off.
you were actually a child when you wrote it. I was an adult when I wrote.
Yes, I kind of want to keep that little childlike
Yes,
charm in there, but
totally.
I need to really go back and see if it's really what I want. I think it is, although I'm still a little conflicted about it. The other
Well,
two works I have right now, I'm pretty confident about.
yeah. If you've got other stories, I would move on. You
Yeah.
know, you can just chalk it up to saying you were a kid. I couldn't do that.
Okay, yeah, more or less, that's what it is. So we've got a couple questions. You want to?
Go ahead and ask me.
Okay, so here we go. Can you answer how you guys deal with stress and hate?
Oh my gosh. With stress, I try to just put things into perspective. Actually, before I got on this call today, I was dealing with two very stressful situations. Having to do with other people and their reactions. The thing is, you could try to do your best, and some people will still throw shade and hate you, and you can get stressed out. There's two situations just right before I got on this call where I was like, okay, I need to put this aside. I need to be on this call, and I'll just have to deal with it when I get off the call. So, putting things in perspective for me is I try to pull myself out of the situation and think of it from like another point of view, as if I'm not in the mix midst of it with all the feelings and emotions. And I say to myself, okay, is this really going to matter 5 years from now? Is this going to matter 1 year from now? Is what I'm dealing with going to matter next week? Okay, and can I do anything about it? If there's nothing I can do about it, then it's pretty silly to stress about it. But if there is something you can do about it, then you try to make it right. So for me, just dealing with stress is pulling myself back, pulling myself out of it, trying to see it from another person's point of view. Because you know how it is when you're going through something and you tell your friend about it and you're so in the thick of things and so wrapped up in the emotions that you can't even see what the answer is. But your friend's like, oh, Simple. Just do dip, dip, dip. It's easy. You're like, ah, how did you, and because they're not tied up in it emotionally. When you have your emotions all mixed up in there, man, you can't make good decisions because you're not thinking logically. You're thinking with your emotions.
Yeah.
Also, the hate. Oh my gosh. Sometimes that happens for no reason. I will pull up my messages and people will just out of the blue that I've never talked to in my life will send me like nasty messages full of hate and vulgarity. And the old me before I was more had a higher EQ, now that my emotions are in check, I'm able to just look at it and go, wow, what a silly person. Do they not have anything better to do with their life? I like the old me would have been like dwelling on it, thinking about it. What if they're right? Did they, what if they saw something that they didn't like in mine? Could I do better? Could I improve? And I just have to look at it and go, you know what? I'm not for everybody. My stuff isn't for everybody. My art, my writing isn't for everybody. But I know there's people that it does matter, that my work affects them and it moves them. And you know what? For every, hate message I get, I probably get 200 or 300 messages of how much my work has helped people or inspired them. So honestly, with the hate, that's just kind of something you have to ignore and realize, oh well, it's either just their opinion or they just get joy out of life and being a troll and hating people. I don't know.
Yeah. I myself have not actually encountered those people yet, mainly because I'm still trying to grow a name for myself, but I've definitely run into stressful situations a couple times, and I look at it this way. I look at stress as a staircase, and I look at my problem-solving solution for that as just walking up one step at a time. Because as crazy as it is, you're not superhuman. You can't fly to the top of the staircase. You got
Yeah.
to walk up. And that often involves breaking down a problem into its individual components, which most of the time, that's what stress is. It's a problem that you have difficulty wrapping your head around because
Yeah.
it's too large to solve in one step.
Right. Well, that's a good way of looking at things. They also say, the way the female mind works is different than the way the male mind works. Males are better at compartmentalizing. So I can see how you could do those steps and be like, okay, this we solve this, then we solve this, then we solve this. Sometimes that's a little more difficult for females because everything is all meshed together. It's like men's brains are like waffles and there's these little squares that each, this is my work square, this is my relationship square, this is my career, whatever. And but with women it's like it's all jumbled together, and if one area goes bad, it's like it can make everything go bad. And I don't know, that's maybe why women have a little harder time to be more emotionally sound. And I know I did. At least it took me a long time to be able to get like my husband that can look at something and go, okay, no big deal. Why are you getting all worked up over this? So yeah, hopefully I'm a lot further ahead than I used to be. I know I don't cry as much. I don't stress out as much. So I think it's working.
As long as you're better than when you were when you woke up.
Well, I don't know about that, but that's a good point of view. Better than when I woke up. Okay. By the end of the day, I think what I usually have more anticipation and hope at the beginning of the day, and then 20 things go wrong, and I don't know if I'm much better.
All right, let's move on to another question because we've got a lot actually now.
Yeah. Hey, Brandy. See some of my peeps on here. Hey, Lily. Alina. You typing
Okay.
me a question? Ah,
Let's see, we've got one of my people here. We've got
nice.
Alina. What inspired both of you to start writing in the first place?
Do you want to go first or should I?
You can go first.
Okay. For me, I think it was an outlet. It was a way to like deal with my emotions. I was a teenager and I had all this pent up stuff that I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about. So journaling, writing, doing my poetry was a way to kind of get stuff off my chest that I did not feel comfortable telling other people about.
Interesting, interesting. That's definitely a big reason I started writing as well. I was
Mm-hmm.
pretty severely teased and harassed as a kid, so I
Mm-hmm.
would start writing comic books to try and one, cope with that, and two, just again compartmentalize the ideas in my head in an actual organized fashion. And I started writing a lot of those, and they never really amounted to anything huge, but they were all ideas. And eventually, I started trying to write a book. I think my first attempt was at age 9. You can imagine how well that went.
Wow.
Um, I tried, I think, 5 times in the span of 2 years, and just failed every time. It was bad. So then
Uh, I
in
don't
the
even.
sixth grade, uh, I had an assignment from my teacher where I had to write for half an hour every week,
Mm-hmm.
and naturally, I had a story in my head that I wanted to try and tell her. So I tried writing that down, and that turned out to be the first draft for my first book.
No kidding. Wow, that's so cool. Somebody asked how I manage writing my books and having 2 kids. Well, I have to, honestly, you probably have more time to concentrate because you don't have all the distractions. But even nowadays, I feel like it's super hard, even if you don't have kids, because all of this, like your phone is always dinging. There's notifications, there's social media, there's, you know, problems people want you to solve. There's all this stuff. I could be in the midst of writing and my 13-year-old will come in all upset because the internet's not working and all freaking out, and then you got to get up and change diapers and all of that. So I try to take small amounts of time and get as much done as possible. I try to get up when they're sleeping and write while they're sleeping. I have to put my 2-year-old in daycare a couple times a week just so I have some quiet time where I can think and write.
I imagine it is very difficult as a parent. I cannot relate to that whatsoever, so I can't bring any more input than what you have into
uh,
that.
yeah, so I thought I'd answer.
Okay, so we've got a couple more questions. Let's see if we can find a good one here.
Okay.
Um,
Do you see one you want us to answer?
quiet. Not in particular. So we've got about 10 minutes left.
Uh-huh.
So I figure we could spend this time just talking about what we're doing currently in
Okay.
terms of our work. So what are you doing right now, Catherine?
Currently, I have been for the last 2 years actually working on a self-help book, and I'm turning it into actually an online course. Once the online course is done, I will probably then also look for a publisher, but it's called You Are Worthy. And it's to help people who have self-worth, self-esteem issues to be able to discover their value, learn to love themselves, and become who they were meant to be. And do that by finding out what God has to say about them, and that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that they have a purpose in life. So that's my heart too. I also was bullied in school like you, and thought I wasn't worth anything, thought I wasn't important, thought there was no purpose for me in life, thought nobody would miss me, if I was gone. And once I got over that, I kind of wrote the memoir. This is like the memoir of that journey from self-hate to self-love. And it was 20 poems, and now I've expanded it into, right now it's over 90,000 words that I've written on the topic.
Wow, that's amazing. Definitely send me the link to that course when it's up.
Okay.
I will definitely try and support that. My phone is on the brink of death, so if I cut out at any second, that is why. So I'm going to try and prevent that real fast by
Fully
give me a
charged.
moment.
Sure. So let's see, Catherine, how about we invite you to Nambia for a motivational talk to our university students? Wow. You know, the only place I've been out of the country is Ireland, Canada, and Mexico. Were you making your first video at Darman Studios? How did you feel? Oh, that was 2018. It was awesome. I loved it. So I don't know if you know that I do acting for Darman Studios, but I've been in like 90 of their projects. So when I'm not,
Wow, that's a lot.
yeah, when I'm not acting, I'm home writing the books. Otherwise, I'm at Darman Studios shooting.
You have my respect for sure. I
No.
cannot do that many things at once.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing to go in all the different directions, but I don't know. I feel like women have more of a proclivity to multitask as well.
I definitely cannot multitask, I'll tell you that much. So if you can jot that down for your research notes if that helps you out.
Nice. So what are you working on?
So for me, I am working on the 4th book of my series, The Legend of V.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, it was delayed a year because of the quarantine
Yeah.
and my inability to market it in this environment because my online presence isn't very big, and really almost all of my presence was completely physical. So I'm trying to transition into more of an online space now. I'm doing an okay job, but nothing has really broken through yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to keep pushing and trying my best to do whatever it takes to get the name of The Legend of V out there, and that involves things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that will be out likely in 2022. And
Nice.
so for the year of 2021, I'm going to likely try and publish some supplementary material, just some marketing material for The Legend of V to get my name out there, to get The Legend of V's name out there, to get the fact that I'm a writer out there, and to get people interested and invested in what I have and what I have to say.
This fiction, what genre?
Fantasy, science fiction, and action adventure.
Nice.
Those are the 3 genres that my series encompass right now.
Nice. Cool.
And so yeah, the last year was definitely a little rough, but I'm going to try and bounce back in 2021 and especially 2022 when I plan on publishing the 4th installment of my book.
Mm-hmm.
Of my series.
Nice. Wonderful. That's exciting.
Thank you.
Very cool.
It definitely is. So we've got, let's see, 5 minutes. Do we got any other questions?
If time permits me this year, I would also like to put out another poetry book. I have ideas for so many, and I've started to write a few. It's like choosing, how do I choose which one to put out next? I don't know. It's a different thing than writing fiction. I can only imagine fiction is all consuming, having to be immersed in that story throughout, whereas poetry, you just have a couple pages, you know, each story is like just a couple pages long with a poem.
Yeah, I'm not super versed in poetry. I am versed in some forms of short story. Poetry is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Standard short stories, like just a couple hundred words. I do that actually as a live stream before Authors Fireside on my Twitch channel.
Oh, you read your on there?
No, I don't read that. I make short stories that are related to The Legend of V.
Gotcha.
Just on a separate platform, just to, again, try and bolster online marketing because that stuff is important.
Yeah. Yep. I know it's getting a traditional publisher these days. They want you to have at least 100,000 in your audience of people because they want to make sure if they take you on that people are actually going to buy your book.
Okay, so we've got an interesting question here from Lily U99. So, will you go to China for a tour and do a book convention in China?
I don't know.
I never. You go ahead first, Catherine.
Never crossed my mind. If I had, you know, if I'm paying the bill, it's probably not going to happen.
That is a very expensive bill, yes.
Yeah, you know, if we had a publisher that was like a big fancy publisher that would pay for us to go on these book tours, I'd go anywhere they send me.
See, for me, I've never been that far east. I think the furthest east I've been, oh man, what is the furthest east I've been? I can't even remember right now. I'm gonna have to get back on that. But if I like Catherine, I could be sponsored to go to China. I definitely would for a
Yeah.
book tour. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out of the question, but I think at the stage in which I'm in my career, I'm so far from that I think trying to contemplate about it wouldn't be a very good use of my current time. Right now, I'm just concerned, will people read my book at all? Like, will the person next to me read the book that I have? Not even the person in, like, on the other side of the world from me. But, I mean, if the opportunity came up, I wouldn't put it down. I would definitely consider it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. We've got time for one more question. Let's see if I can find a good one. Oh, here's a good one. Will you ever, it's one of those, will you even do a meet and greet?
People have been asking for that a lot. I certainly would consider that. It's like, where would you do it though? Because everybody's from all over the world. I mean, we have fans from all over the world. How do you choose?
Definitely. Well, this is definitely a good way to do it.
Yeah.
If you want, Instagram is a fantastic place to do this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely would be useful for you because you have a much bigger audience than I do. And that's sort of the reason I actually consult others, is so we can mix our audiences together and kind of get a little collab going here.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I would certainly consider a meet and greet. I would need somebody to organize that for me. Somebody who's the planning type, who can like look at the analytics and see where are the most fans coming from. Should we go there? I don't think most people would be able to fly where I'm at, Yeah.
Okay, we can have time for one more quick one, so I think we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make any more moral videos?
Do you mean, are you talking about the videos I do for Darman, or are you talking about the ones I do on my YouTube channel where I'm giving people advice? I'm not sure what the moral videos are you're talking about.
Let's give her a moment to reply. Let's see if anything pops up in the comments.
Randy wants us all to meet on Mars.
That would definitely be the most neutral place to visit.
No
countries don't exist on Mars.
No politics on Mars. I don't know. Do you think there'll be a president of Mars someday, or a king
Oh man,
of Mars? Have you thought about that?
I have not, but I'm sure some fantasy author has.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, yeah, I bet. Okay, well, I don't know if they're answering.
I don't think they are either. So let's wrap it up here.
Okay.
Well, Catherine, this was a pleasure. Thank you for coming on and being a part of Authors Fireside this week. Hopefully we can do this again. I would love to actually do this again with you because this was very pleasant. You were wonderful to talk to.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me on your show. And I hope your channel grows, and I pray for you to have lots of success with your books.
Thank you. Thank you. You as well.
All right. Thank you.
And with that, we're gone.
All right. Juice.